Very important topic this morning comes from one of the Beaverines out there, actually. So make sure you have something poured and you are ready to go for this discussion because we are about to get into it. Welcome to Prepper Nation. I am John coming to you from the bunker, son. Thank you very much for watching, for listening, however you choose to do it. Hitting that thumbs up and hitting subscribe. It's truly appreciated. Also, Donna Southwood, ma'am, thank you very much for sponsoring this morning's coffee. So, as I mentioned, this comes from a Beaverine. This comes from, and I asked permission before I threw his name out there and blasted it out there. He said that's fine. Chad over on Patreon, who, let me just say for the record, typically is right when he's making predictions and things like this. 90% of the time, he seems to be spot on, which is why this needs to be talked about. I agree with him on that, and why it's a very, very serious issue for us Patriots here in the United States moving forward. So, the coming draft, which has been talked about and chatted about in this community for a while now. That's not a new topic. We've chatted about it over here. Some of the questions seem to be, will women be drafted? Will there be a draft? What ages are going to be hit? But this goes beyond that. The coming draft. So he sent a message again on Patreon, and he basically laid out his prediction and what he believes is going on. And it really seems to make sense to me. I love the message because it made me look at things from a different perspective, which I really like. And I've been talking about, every time the draft gets brought up, I'm like, I'm not getting drafted. I'll go to a jail cell. And, in his message, he basically said, what difference does it make whether you get deployed for 5 years after the draft and thrown into a meat grinder, or thrown into a cage for 5 years, military prison or something like that? Because the real problem, according to Chad, and I tend to agree with this, is the invasion here at home. Um, all of these fighting age illegals that sometimes get talked about in the community, but honestly not enough because it's a huge threat. He's saying these illegals are not going to be drafted. There's no paper trail that they're even supposed to be here. These illegals, these fighting age males, these foreign nationals that have come across the border. It's too late for a while now. A while may have worked, the first year of Trump's presidency, maybe. I don't know. It's not going to work now. The threat's already here. So, as it was laid out, and as I understand it, again, thank you, Chad. America over deploys, okay, which we're in the process of doing right now. Multiple fronts, get our military here, get our military here. We don't have enough military to go around because, again, recruitment's a problem, okay? We just don't have the numbers. So the next thing you do is you begin to deploy the National Guard. We're beginning to see that already. We've got some in Poland. We've got some now in the Middle East. The numbers continue to climb. A couple of weeks ago, we had said it was around 2,000. And somebody had said, that's just medical personnel. It's no big deal. 2,000 is not a big number. Now it's in between, just in the Middle East, 20 to 30,000. For those that don't know, they continue to deploy our troops out. And when they run out of National Guard, this is when they would pivot over to a draft here in the United States of America. They need bodies. When you get right down to it, you can get as fancy as you want to with warfare. But if you get tied up into a meat grinder style war, be it the Middle East, Europe, wherever, you need bodies. And this is why there will be a draft, I believe. But again, the issue is the illegals will not be drafted. How many fighting age males are illegally in the United States right now? I don't know. I couldn't find an exact number. I don't know if anybody knows. The number that I found just under Biden's presidency is around 4 million, just under 4 million illegals total. Now, how many of those again are fighting age males? I don't know, but I can tell you mainstream media spins it as though they're all poor, pitiful families with 20 kids in tow. That's not the case. There are a lot of single males, 20 somethings, that are coming across the border and being, I would say at this point, being deployed to certain areas of the country. It seems like to me, at least, sleeper cells, perhaps. How many sleeper cells are here in the United States? Again, we don't know. We really don't know. Um, but as I've said here before, if you're going to hit an opponent, especially an opponent like the United States of America, you've got to hit them when they least expect it, and you've got to hit them at their weakest point. So Pearl Harbor, just to make that reference real quick, I don't think we were at our weakest point, but we were hit. At least the soldiers in Pearl Harbor, the sailors were hit when they least expected it. That's why it took place when it did. Um, and during this war that is coming, that's already here, but that's going to escalate and get bigger and bigger and bigger. All right. There's not going to be a lot of hand holding unity here in the United States of America. I don't foresee, at least, America having this moment. Remember just after 9/11 when the left and the right kind of came together and everybody put out American flags and we were all proud to be an American and everybody loved the country again and we put squabbles aside and we were Americans. I don't see that happening anymore. Been too much division since 9/11, in my opinion. We're just going to see total chaos here at home, as Chad points out. Um, and I'm going to give you a quote from the message. He said, I don't think it's draft time. I think it's 1776 time. Because regardless of the choice, whatever choice we make, if for whatever reason, if you're drafted, okay, if you're out there and you're in that demographic and you get a notice saying, hey, good news, you're being put into the military and we're going to deploy you to a war somewhere. What are your options? Right? Door number one is you reluctantly go and you fight in a billionaire's war and get thrown into a meat grinder or kids or something, your kids maybe. Door number two, as Chad said, you get thrown into a cage for 5 years and forgotten about. And he said, he went on to say, if we survive, we will have nothing to come home to. In the rare event that we survive this prison stint or this 5 years of deployment and this world war, what are we coming home to? Who's going to protect your family while you're gone? Because it's the same for your family. Your family either sees you go off to fight a foreign war somewhere, or they see you go to prison. Either way, you're not there to protect your family at that point. Um, he said, when you get out of prison or you get back home from this war, if you're lucky enough to survive it, your land may be gone. We may have underwent land seizures. Your freedoms may be gone by this point. The Constitution, maybe that's totally replaced and our government looks wildly different because of this 5 years. The monetary system will have been reset totally at this point. And as I was reading his message, I said, maybe this is the plan, folks. It's not for me to know. It's not for me to say, but that sure does make sense. If I was an enemy of the United States because, it's a democratic society, constitutional republic, and they have freedom. We have freedom here, right? If I was an enemy of that, this seems like a blueprint to sack the United States of America. You begin to understand that Joe's blunders and our generals, their screw ups and their foo bars may indeed not be screw ups. This may be coordinated stuff. Maybe they're following a blueprint because it seems like we talk about replacement theory all of the time or sometimes, right? And it's real. It's not a conspiracy theory. Replacement is happening. Patriots are being replaced and patriots and leftists who are supposed to be here. Legal citizens are slowly being replaced by people that are not supposed to be in this country, would be the way to put it. But maybe this is the blueprint. We have a huge war. We're understaffed for this war on purpose. We continue to make mistakes that make no military sense. So, of course, we have to have a draft. Again, who's going to be drafted? Americans are going to be drafted, and they're going to be then replaced with illegals. Patriots go out. If they're lucky enough, they come back one day, but the illegals basically take the country over at that point. If so, this is a huge problem moving forward and a problem that not enough people are talking about because he's correct. I've thought it over in my head for the past several days. The only fix to this would be a 1776, a full-on revolution. There's no other fix that I can think of. The government is not going to correct itself. Even if we get the right people into Congress, again, the damage is done, the replacement's happening, and we already have this huge shortfall in the military. Um, but I don't know. If you have a different fix for this, please let me know in the comments, okay? But no one would be coming to save us. That's the point of his message, I think, and that's what I gathered from it in the end. Um, a complete replacement, flush the Patriots out, put them elsewhere, bring illegals in, kind of reboot everything from the ground up. Again, land seizures, freedom seizures, swap the Constitution out with whatever makes sense, total chaos here at home. It's not like we would have the police force here at home to do anything about it because a lot of your law enforcement, they're what? They're reservists. So they're going to be deployed. And we already have a shortfall of police officers and things. A lot of your Second Amendment folks would be what? Drafted, right? Uh, a lot of veterans that have been home for a few years that have the training that patriots would need here at home, they would be redeployed, drafted, sucked back into the military machine, and sent elsewhere. It's almost like to put it in a context here. If our last line of defense are the people that own the guns, the people that have the training, the true patriots here in the United States of America, it's almost like they are eliminating that last line of defense by means of war. Let's get these people out of our way, put them elsewhere, all right, put them in another room somewhere, meaning the Middle East, Europe, somewhere like that, so we can do what we're here to do. The illegals, that is. Literally, we would be on our own, the people that were left behind. Now, you're going to have some folks that miss the draft because of their age. Maybe they're a little too old for the military's liking that know how to use firearms, but would there be enough to fight the sleeper cells or the fifth columns that are already in place in our country? Are there enough people left behind at that point to do anything but submit? I don't know. Um, Literally on our own, and we would have that one final stand for freedom. And I don't know that we would have the numbers at that point. If we see a massive draft, I don't know that we have the numbers at that point. In other words, if there's going to be a 1776, it needs to happen sooner rather than later because we may be running out of time if Chad's correct. Um, but there would be a stand for freedom. I know there would be some people left who are willing to fight. I don't know where I would be, honestly. I'm not going to fight a billionaire's war. Uh, but it puts it into perspective for me because I don't want to be sitting in a cage for 5 years, as Chad put it, and not be here to defend my family. um, especially with sleeper cells and all of these illegals here that may intend to do harm. America may already be finished. It may already be too late even for a 1776 because I know some people want a 1776, but as I've said in the past, I don't know that enough people want freedom anymore. I think complacency has kind of swapped out in people's minds with freedom, and it's sad, but we'll find out soon enough. Whatever the plan is for the United States of America, we're going to find out, I think, within the next couple of years. So please continue to prep. I don't know what the contingency plan is if there's a draft put into place. I don't know what option number 3 is. I don't know if that's go underground into a bunker. I don't know if that's go off grid somewhere and try and ride it out that way. I don't know. But I know that there would be total chaos on the back end of a draft, and not draft related so much as it would be people trying to overthrow everything here at home. Y'all let me know what you think in the comments. Take care. God bless.